Recovery starts when we stop blaming and start transforming pain into progress, right? Anytime there's something bad that happens in my life, right? I just recently had a sister that passed away, right? She went into the hospital and she stayed in there for a month. She started just deteriorating and stuff like that. And what I started doing was I put more fuel into my life. That's when I really went harder on YouTube and doing long form videos, because I wanted to reach out and help people. So I know the enemy wanted our family. I have some strong people in my family, strong women, right? That we talked about it, like, are you going to take off your day from work tomorrow, right? Because we had some bereavement days. Even my boss said, you can take off work. But as collective, we was like, no, we can't stop living. Because that's what the enemy wants us to do. He wants us to sit back in our bed, balled up in a fetal position, and crying, oh, I miss my sister. I miss her and I love her to death, but she didn't want me to sit back. She was a strong individual, right? So she didn't want me to sit back and let the enemy win. I'm not going to do that. So I'll push forward. So what I did, I started going harder on my social media so I can reach out and help more people. And that's what gave me fuel to the flame, because I was half doing it at first. Right, I was just doing videos here and there, but now I'm doing one every week and making clips. So make sure you guys come back. Right, this is just what we do. And also I had examples of people that was in recovery that when they father died, their husband died, their mama died, when their cousin got shot, this and that other. Guess what? They showed up to a meeting. Even when people, there's one guy. Not to break his anonymity, but he showed up to a meeting on the anniversary that his mother passed away. He worked for the CTA. He was driving, and he just remembered that it was the day that his mother passed the year before, right? And he called his supervisor and said, hey, I need to get off work. I'm going through this. I need to go to a meeting. Pulled over the bus. Somebody else came on to finish his shift, and he was at a meeting telling his story. So I had examples of what to do. Today, he's still sober. And every time I see him, man, I remind him that he showed me that through his actions, right? So I know what to do. They gave me tools, right? So I don't have to sit back and be into my feelings, right? I got feelings I got to deal with, because all feelings are valid, but I don't have to like waddle in them, right? Because they gave me tools. Because if I start waddling in my feelings, right, just sitting there and marinating in my feelings, guess what I'm going to do by default? Because I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic. Sooner or later, I'm going to want to feel better. And by default, what I know how to do, put something on top of it. So I have to have more control of my emotions. Emotional sobriety is the most important thing for me in recovery these days. It's not about picking up the drink or the drug, because that was my solution back in the day when in my madness. That was a solution to me not feeling the pain, the grief, the resentments. You know what I mean? All those sad things that I didn't want to feel, right? I put something on top of it so I wouldn't feel it, right? That was my solution. But today, I got different tools. When I'm not feeling good, I'm not, feeling bad about feeling good about my situation, things are not going the way I want them to go because I'm selfish and self-centered, right? I pick up the phone and talk to somebody. I be blowing my sponsor up. Or I might just reach out to a newcomer, right? In a meeting, I go there, and then after the meeting or before the meeting, I talk to people and ask them how you're doing, right? What's going on with you, right? Get some of that positive reinforcement, and also getting, because I would turn a molehill into a mountain, right? I started living in the past and still start reliving those pains, those emotions from the past, and I still will get anxiety for stuff that may happen tomorrow or even 6 months from now, and usually that anxiety comes from something that's not going to happen the way I think it's going to happen anyway. So I have to use these tools that they gave me, right? So that's what I love about, the community of recovery. We can always lean on each other and continue to live a sober life, right? And not just stay sober, but live a prosperous life, right? A meaningful life, happy, joyous, and free, right? We're going to go down to the next one. I got some good notes for you guys today. So keep it going. Watch to the end. We're going to talk about coachability equals growth, right? Even the greatest needed a coach. This is awesome. I love this part, right? Because before, what was that, Phil Jackson got there? I think it was like Phil Collins. Not Phil Collins. It was, I forgot the other coach before they started winning the championships. Michael Jordan was always Michael Jordan, right? But when he had a great coach, when he came, right, he told Mike, hey, sometimes you got to pass the ball. You gotta trust your teammates. You had Steve Curry at that time, right? You had Dennis Rodman, you had Tony Kukoc, Scottie Pippen, right? You had all these other great players, right? Trust them, right? And when he started passing the ball, because what his coach told him to do, they started winning championships. When Michael got triple team, you know what he did. He shot off to the three-point line, swoosh, winning the games, right? So we have to be coachable, right? Don't run from advice or correction. Stay humble enough to be teachable. That's how we keep growing. The greatest players of all time was coachable. He didn't get big-headed like some of the greatest of all time say. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, right? Don't get in the comments talking about that dude, right? But because I ain't even gonna say his name because I love Michael Jordan so much, not just because he was a great player, but the mindset he had, right? You have to stay coachable. You have to stay humble enough to be teachable, right? And if I stay humble and knowing I don't know everything, I can start growing. I tell people all the time, right? You have to dummy down, right? Because we intelligent people as recovering alcoholics and addicts, we're very intelligent. We're great, we're fabulous at other things, but we don't know a lot about recovery, right? Because I'm 51 years old, and for the majority of my life, over 35 years, I was addicted to drugs and alcohol and also the lifestyle. So I have a big knowledge of that, right? But I have this much knowledge of how to live life sober and do things the right way, become a better person, become a better man. And that didn't happen until I got into recovery because I started listening to people. I started listening to my sponsor. I started listening to my brothers and sisters that's in recovery, right? I started taking their suggestions and started doing what they told me to do. Because I didn't look at it as a suggestion. If they asked me or suggested something to me, I did it. And 99.9% of the time, it worked out in my favor, right? Because I can't trust what's going on in here. Because I can't recover with the same brain that kept me out there homeless, living on the concrete, sleeping on the concrete, abandoned buildings, right? The bus stops, right? In the parks for 9 years, right? I can't trust that brain because I was far-fetched from reality thinking that was okay. And I was okay with dying. But today I'm okay with living a great life, and I know why I was chosen. And why I was chosen was to help other people, right? So this is what we get into, right? Now in the big book reference, right? Being coachable, right? Is on page 58, how it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path, right? And they're talking about the first 100 men and women. It was only one woman, but it was men and women that thoroughly followed the path, right? And they recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body, right? They did it and other people followed them. Now, from the 30s or whatever like that, the same teachings have come down to us. And I'm very thankful for Bill Wilson, right? You know, Bob, right? You know what I'm saying, right? All these people that gave this information so that can help us out in the future, right? And I love the program because it's showing me how to live, how it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail. Rarely. That means almost never, right? And I have to practice these principles in all my affairs, just not in recovery, but in other places too as well, right? Right? Following directions works, but only if we are willing to be taught. Willingness. We talk about willingness all the time, right? Willingness. I don't have to know what's going to happen when you tell me to do a certain thing, right? I don't know how it's going to pan out. I don't have to look at the end result. I just have the willingness to do it. Like when I was making my amends, right? How my sponsor had me set it up was to make amends with the first people that would be easy for me, right? Like my family and loved ones, right? That was real easy, right? Then I had to make amends to, you know what I'm saying, the banks, you know what I mean, get my credit back up. I had to pay off bills, right? You know, creditors and stuff like that. I wasn't really ready to do that. Then the other harms that I did that I would say I would never do. But once I got past certain ones, the willingness grew because I seen what it did, right? I was able to look the world in the eyes and not flinch. Some peace and some honesty because I know I'm doing better. I'm not harming people. And I'm making these reconciliations with people, right? So I can sleep at night. It's a great thing. Peace is a marvelous thing, bro. Moving forward, now we're on page 30. More about alcoholism. We learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves, right? That we were alcoholic/addict. This is the first step of recovery. Humility, being coachable enough to admit you don't have all the answers. That's step one. So we're always going back to step one, right? Because my life was unmanageable, right? You know, alcohol was a problem and my life was unmanageable, right? I had to admit that, right? And from there, you know, I can grow from there, get a spiritual awakening per se, you know, get a conscious contact with my my higher power, which I call God, right? Then I can grow from there. Because once I get past the 1, 2, and 3, then guess what? Now I can start working on what? Me, right? Finding out the parts I played and stuff, right? And then I can work on my character defects, right? And then I can start, apologizing or making amends to other people, right? Then I can start teaching and showing other people how I did it, right? And all the information that came from people before me, I learned how they did it, right? And we're all in this thing together. Right? Outwork your old self. This is the part that I like, right? It says, your only competition in recovery is for who you were yesterday. This is the part that I'm on. This is why I made this video. I went through all these steps, right? The progression of this video, but this is the part that I wanted you guys to get, right? Because this is what I'm working on it, and this is what people in my circle are working on. Outworking my past self.